Hello. Today we want to teach you how to not settle,
Right.
and how to make sure that you are taking on the job that you're worth.
Yeah, this is a real issue,
For sure.
right?
With women.
Yes, and especially when you have some kind of break or unconventional career path.
Yes.
You start to feel like I have to settle for whatever. So,
Well, eventually
Pick this
you
apart.
also feel like it's all you deserve.
yeah.
And I think we see that a lot. So let's talk about this. We settle when we take on something that doesn't fulfill our needs or
Right.
wants. And we do it because either it's all we can get, it's
Yep.
all we think we can get, or worst case, it's all we think we can deserve. So here are some questions that we put together to help you reflect and really identify, have I settled?
Right.
Or am I going down the path to settling
To
on
settling.
a job that really is less than I should be
Right.
taking on?
So that first question you want to ask yourself is this work using my skills? And now there's skills from your career before your break, and then there's skills that happen during your break, and you need to see them as
That's right.
valuable skills. But
That's right.
elaborate on that a little bit.
So when you're taking a career pause, and a pause can take on different forms. It can be a clean break from work, but it could also be you taking a lesser role,
Right.
or working part-time. All of those things that kind of take you out of the running.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes when you are in those roles, you're overlooked
Yep.
for greater responsibility and promotions. And then you start thinking, okay, well, I can't even ask for it. So I think really helpful here is taking a good inventory of your skills, understanding what they are,
Right.
understanding what they are from an educational, foundational perspective through your work, but also those things that you've done during your career pause. So it might be leadership in the community,
Right.
advocacy for the disabled, estate management for elderly parents, whatever it is, really taking stock of those skills and then looking at, is this work that I'm going towards really the best use of my skills and what I can do?
Yes. And if you want to do a little deeper dive
Yeah.
into assessing that, we have other videos that you can go back to and just
Yeah, you can take a
reference
deep dive.
and take a deep dive to really assess what are my skills and what are the skills that during that gap I have gained,
Yeah.
and then what are my skills from before
Yeah.
when I started my career. So the next one is it appropriately challenging?
So this is where we can often fall in a trap. So if you have again taken some form of career pause and you're going back, you might be feeling a little uncomfortable. You might have a lapse of confidence. So you might take the easy job.
Right.
That's not always bad. Sometimes that's a way of growing your confidence, especially if you've had a long career break.
Or you've made the conscious choice
Right.
that you want it to be.
Right.
Right? That
Maybe
is
your
your priority.
Like you might be going back to work when your kids are still young because you have a financial need or because you're suddenly single, and having something that's easy to do and not terribly challenging is great. As long as when you look at your priorities, ease, work that you don't have to bring home with you after you've left the office, technically either physically or online. If those are your priorities, if those are your wants and needs, then it makes sense. But for a lot of people, we see they take the less challenging job because again, it's safe and it's all I feel like I can do.
Yeah.
Right. That's not a good reason, and that would be settling.
Yes, exactly. So here's another question to ask yourself. Are my contributions respected? Are they recognized? And are they appropriately and properly awarded?
Yeah.
Rewarded.
Right. And reward can come in the form of compensation.
Yep.
But also the kind of assignments you're getting, your title, whether you get promoted, how many weeks of vacation you have. So again, it's going back to what's important to me. If the most important thing to you is that you are properly rewarded financially and you're being paid at minimum wage,
Yes.
you've settled.
Yes.
Right.
And I think a part of what happens here sometimes is that when you are someone that works really hard, you have that strong work ethic, you put your head down, you're all in for the team, you're doing the work. Sometimes you're just so exhausted, you don't even think to yourself, oh, you know what? I need to check in with this. I need to check in. Am I being properly rewarded for all of this hard work? Am I actually being recognized for all of this hard work? And so you have to be really careful of the burnout.
Yes.
That burnout pitfall.
And a lot of that is really looking at the culture, right? Sometimes we might take the right job, but we're settling for a culture that doesn't honor our values. And that's something to consider, again, when you think about what's most important to you.
Right. So is my schedule working for me and for my life
As a relauncher or as a new mom or as a caretaker of older parents. So when we take a career break, it's often because we have other responsibilities.
Yes.
And we settle when we say, you know what, I understand. I have to be 5 days in the office. I have to be 9 to 5. I only get a 30-minute
Right.
break for lunch. You're settling if those things don't work with your life.
Yes.
Because there are plenty of opportunities out there that will fit for your life.
Yes, we were talking to one of the graduates from our program, and during her time with us, she actually had a second child, and it made her completely reevaluate the way that she was looking at work.
Yeah.
And she actually said to us, you know, I don't think I could be doing work and parenthood if I didn't have this remote schedule the way that I wanted to.
Right.
And taking that time to really think about, what are my priorities? What do I really want from this work? And what am I willing to compromise on? And what am I not willing to compromise on? That's a great question to ask, especially when you're in that really like heavy lifting part.
And she actually turned down an offer
Yes.
that was in the office, even though it was a convenient location, because
And a
she
great,
didn't want, and
great
she,
place. Yeah.
she didn't want to settle, because for her, a top priority was that flexibility to work from home.
Yes.
Yep.
Here is a really, really good one. Is the organizational culture a positive one in line with my values? I think it starts with determining, what are your values?
Yeah.
Like, what are your core values? And if they're being stepped on the regular in the work environment that you're in, that is going to cause you to land in the arena of burnout very, very quickly. And then it looks like you're not performing well,
Right,
or
right.
you're not doing enough.
And settling can mean taking a job that pays really well,
Yes.
but doesn't meet that value. I'm thinking of Tamara, a graduate of our program, who networked her way into an amazing opportunity.
Yep.
And she skipped 2 levels of interview and was going right to meet with the VP, who would have been her immediate supervisor. And she read his LinkedIn profile, and it was laced with profanity. And some of the posts had been up for a couple of months. And she just thought, wow, first of all, I don't want to work with someone who talks like that so publicly. And I don't want to work for an organization that allows something like that not to be said kind of on the fly in a conference room, but to be written and in perpetuity on a public platform for 2 months. So she, in her mind, settling was taking a really great job, but in the wrong organization.
Exactly. And so she was really in tune with her values. And the boundary was, I will not let that be stepped on in the environment where I'm going to spend a lot of time, because we spend a lot of time. And so this kind of leads to this next question, which question you should ask yourself is, do I respect and enjoy my colleagues? I think there is no better way to either like make the environment more dynamic that you work in, make the work more enjoyable than working with people you love and you care about and you enjoy and you have a professional respect with.
Right, because we spend so much time, even if you're on the other side of a Zoom screen, we spend so much time with our work people. I mean, in many cases, we're spending more waking hours with our colleagues than we do with our family. So again, you're settling if you are joining a team that doesn't suit you, that doesn't feel collaborative, that isn't a positive influence on you and doesn't share your values.
And sometimes that can come from just like going with like, oh, I want to say I'm working at this name brand company.
Right.
And so I will work with whoever, and I heard that it's supposed to be really great here. And then you get there and you realize, oh my gosh, this really is not a good fit for me. The other thing is, and that I do want to say about this, is that, you know, you aren't going to love everybody that you work with. Right? You don't have to be BFFs.
Unless you're us.
Yes, exactly. But you don't have to be BFFs with everyone that you work with. However, and so in that case, you have to have really good boundaries that you are setting with people so that you can, in a really healthy way, interact with them on a regular basis, and you're not carrying the heaviness of that into the rest of your life.
It's so right.
Boundaries are very important. Okay, next question. Am I fairly compensated for my work within the norms of this new industry?
So there are so many salary research tools out there that you should know what the norms in your industry are. Glassdoor, salary.com, Ravio, there are many companies, there are many more. You can do a quick Google search and you can do them by function, role, also geography, because many companies have sliding scales for compensation based on where you live. But you are settling if you are taking a job that you know is not paying you what the market demands. And there's no excuse for that. If you think you might be settling like that, we have a number of videos in our catalog on YouTube and on Spotify where you can find all kinds of information on negotiating.
Yes.
Make sure that you listen to those or watch those because you need to make sure that you're asking for what you're worth and what's available to you.
Yes, absolutely. So being educated is the big
Yes,
piece of that.
exactly.
Yeah. So here is a really important one. Am I learning and am I growing? That is something that's going to give you a sense of fulfillment,
Yes.
right? When you're in your work. And so if there is not an opportunity for that to happen, you really are settling, right?
And you'll
stifling
stagnant.
Yeah.
But to your point earlier, for the woman who's taking maybe a lesser role now because her kids are young, she needs to know that there's opportunity to grow. If you're taking a job that might even be a stretch and you're not thinking growth, well, in 2 years, that stretch job's not going to be a growth job anymore.
Right.
So you want to be making sure that there are opportunities to grow. The other really important piece here that's kind of unique to this time is that with the advent of AI, jobs are changing. Industries are changing so quickly. You may lose your job because your company gets gobbled up, or God forbid you lose your funding, or your job gets replaced by some type of
AI,
robotic. So it is beholden on you to constantly be learning and new skills, and it's really beholden on your employer to give you opportunities to do that.
Yes. And so kind of in this same lane, because we're talking about growth, like, is there growth in the role? Or
Yes.
Alternatively, am I making myself a better candidate through this role?
So there's the personal growth, which was kind of like to your last question. This is more, is there opportunity for me to move up? And if not, like, let's say you chose this really small organization where there isn't a lot of movement, am I making myself better so that I can move up somewhere else? And again, especially when we're moms, especially when we're maybe, trying to deal with career breaks or maybe some lower level jobs we've had, whatever it is that's compromising our confidence, we don't think about those things. We don't think about what's happening in the future. But your male colleagues are.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you're giving yourself that same opportunity.
Right. Okay. And then the last one is, do I generally feel excited about going to work and fulfilled at the end of the day? And now by fulfillment, because I think there's always this distinction, and I like to make it between feeling happy and feeling fulfilled. Feeling happy is something that we chase, and we think we're chasing happess, and I want to feel like happy and it's light. But really what you're chasing is fulfillment, because fulfillment can mean this, that when you put your head on the pillow at the end of the day, you have a sense of, that was a tough day, but like, I have some peace because I'm doing work I love. Like, I'm invested in something that I care about, because I know even just in, running this company, there are so many things that come up. There are so many things that we have to navigate. There are some really hard conversations that we often have to have. But knowing that the work that we're doing is something that feels so fulfilling, that is something that keeps that investment, right? That's not settling.
And it may not be that every day feels exciting or fulfilling.
No.
But that overall you feel like the work that you're doing is impactful. That you feel when you come home energized by it, even if you're tired, because again, we spend a lot of our time at work and we don't want to be in a position where we're bringing negative energy home because we've settled for a role or an organization or a team or a culture that isn't a good fit and that isn't really meeting our demands as a human. And honestly, sometimes that alone would be a unique thing for someone watching and someone in our audience to even ask herself, what do I want? What's important to me?
Ask that more. Ask that. Yeah, for sure. So if you answered yes to most of these questions, you're in good shape. But if you've answered no to most of them, well, then you're probably going to reevaluate.
But even if you've answered no to a couple of these, you have some thinking to do about whether or not you might have settled. And we encourage you to do that reflection and make the change if you need to.
Yes. So if you liked what you heard today, you can get more information about us and our programming at www.preparetolaunchu.com. And we hope to see you soon.